So, I'm going to tell you about my 5 favorite Amish foods today. What am I calling an Amish food? Well, the Amish foods on my list are all foods that I think people associate with the Amish. These are also foods that I've personally had with Amish friends. These are typically things you'll see in Amish communities on the whole. 2 of these foods are what you might call sweets or dessert foods. 2 of them are non-dessert foods, and one of them is kind of, I don't know, in between, let's say. So the first one on my list is pie. It's got to be on the list. The Amish make pies for themselves. They sell them. They serve pie at the fellowship meal after church. I've got 3 of my favorites I'll tell you about here. I really like homemade Amish pie. Pies that are commercially produced can be good, often they are, but in some cases they're not always amazing. One pie that I got, I remember in Lancaster County, it was a fruit pie, but it was kind of quite gelatinous, so not a lot of fruit in there, and the crust was not so great. But I think most of the time you'll do pretty well with the pies you get from the Amish. So here are my 3 favorite pies: black raspberry, snits, and pecan. 2 of those you probably recognize. Some of you might be wondering, what is snits? Snits is a specific type of pie that's popular in Lancaster County. It's actually made from dried apples. It's got a filling that's kind of a dark color. It's kind of like, I don't want to say applesauce, but it's maybe a similar texture to that. Flavor a little different as well. It's commonly served at church. I used to not really see it so much, but I started seeing it, more for sale in stores. So probably got to be known among non-Amish. So try snits pie if you're ever with the Amish, or if you're ever, especially if you're in Lancaster County. You'll see sometimes snits pie in other places, but I would try to get it in Lancaster County if you can. What's not on the list? Now, one famous pie, maybe the most famous Amish pie, did not make my list, and that was shoe fly pie. Shoe fly is fine for me. It's not my favorite. The Amish eat it. One way that they typically eat shoe fly pie is they'll put it in like a bowl and then they'll pour milk over it and kind of like a sloppy mess. And that's actually not bad. I've also had like a chocolate shoe fly pie. That's not bad, I guess. There's also whoopie pies. Now, that's not exactly a pie. That's the 2 layers of the sort of the chocolate cake with the white creamy filling. Tasty for me for the first 2 or 3 bites, then it gets too sweet. Some people, that's their thing. It's not my thing, but that's not technically a pie. But pie in general, that's definitely on my list. That's why I put it at number 1. Number 2, breakfast casserole. I've been eating breakfast casserole, especially when I visit one particular family of Amish friends in Pennsylvania, and she makes the best breakfast casserole you've ever had. What's in a breakfast casserole? Well, I mean, it's like kind of like in a casserole pan, and I don't even know all the things that go in there. I mean, obviously there's eggs, there's cheese, there's some meats, there's like sausage. It's got kind of a sweetness to it, so I think there's probably some kind of maple syrup included as well. Just absolutely delicious. Definitely not a diet food. Another time, actually, I had some friends from Pennsylvania that came to visit my family in North Carolina, and while they were staying with us, they wanted to make this breakfast casserole, so we just went and got some supplies from the grocery store and they made it, and it was fantastic as well. So they were able to do that with our regular sort of North Carolina grocery food. So it's not like some kind of secret Amish item that they have only in Pennsylvania. So yeah, if you want to eat this every day, it would help if you're like an Amish farmer and burning like 8,000 calories a day, because this will probably give you half that amount in one meal. Number 3 on my list, homemade donuts. This is something I've always had a question on. Is a donut a dessert, or is it a snack, or is it a breakfast food? I don't know. For me, it's sweet, so I consider it a dessert, right? Amish make donuts in a lot of places. We had a story about during the whole pandemic. There's a store in the Unity, Maine Amish community where they're well known for their donuts. I think they do donuts on Wednesday, and they had to actually shut that down for the pandemic, and that was kind of a big deal because people love the donuts. They line up for them, and actually you hear that about Amish donuts in other places as well. So they know how to make donuts. I was with some Amish friends in Lancaster County. The family had actually gathered that day to fry up donuts. They were doing it kind of outside in some big vats, and big vat of oil there. Then they stuffed them with like chocolate and cream and stuff, and so they're so good. If you haven't had an Amish made donut, I really recommend getting your hands on one. Number 4, Amish peanut butter. or church peanut butter, as Amish might refer to it. This is a special kind of a peanut butter spread, which the Amish traditionally serve at church, or at the after church meal, the fellowship meal. So every Amish church service is on every other Sunday, and after every service, they'll get together and they'll have a church meal, which is, there's a 3-hour service. It starts like at 9 a.m. and it finishes around noon typically. So then you kind of gather together. You actually take the church benches, and it's funny, it's kind of neat because the way these benches are designed, you can stack them up, and they have a couple pieces of wood that fit into like the ends of them, and then actually put them together. You can create like a table out of a couple of the benches, and so you just use the same benches that you use for church service as tables, and of course bench to and to sit on while you're eating. The Amish will have the fellowship meal, and one of the common foods there is a Amish peanut butter spread, and it's made from regular like peanut butter, and it's got like marshmallow cream and I think molasses or some other stuff in there, so some other magic in there. So, and what you get is it tastes like peanut butter, but it's definitely more sweet. So this was the one when I sort of previewed this list that I didn't know whether to put as a sort of a sweet or a salty, because it's a little bit of both, but it's definitely more of a smooth or more like drippier than like regular peanut butter. So, very easy to spread. And, part of the meal is, you have pieces of bread, and I always spread it on the bread. And the other kind of food I didn't put on this list, but I quite like it, that's from typical of Amish church service, is a cheese spread, or schmeerkäse, which I'm probably mispronouncing that. I don't speak Pennsylvania Dutch, but it's basically like spread cheese, right? Typically, I'll take a piece of bread and put half of it with the peanut butter spread and half of it with the cheese spread. And I don't know, just a great combo. That's one of the nicest parts of attending an Amish church service is the experience itself is amazing, but the meal at the end is also always just tastes really good. So there are other items that are typical in the meal are you may have cheese cubes, salty pretzels, beets, pickles. Some churches serve like a soup. Plainer Amish churches, they serve like a bean soup. You'll have the pie. In Ohio is like a dessert rather than the pie I've had where they give like dessert bars. The church meal it's a simple meal, but it's very tasty, especially after a long church service. You can also get commercially produced Amish peanut butter spread that's just sold and labeled as such. You might expect me to say that the church peanut butter spread is definitely superior to the commercial stuff, but I've actually had some commercial stuff that's quite good. So if you don't have an opportunity to visit an Amish church service, you can always try to pick some up in the store. Number 5, mountain pies. Now, despite the name, mountain pie is not a dessert. What is a mountain pie? Well, you take along, there's a special sort of metal contraption, I'll call it, with a long handle, and it's got like a holder for a sandwich on one end. And you, in that sort of squarish holder, you stuff 2 pieces of bread, meat, cheese, whatever other filling, mayo, whatever you like in there. What do you do next? Well, mountain pies are made in front of a bonfire. You close it and you hold it over the fire for a little while, and a few minutes later, you've got a delicious, hot, melted sandwich. The taste is great, but it's also, I've included it here also for the experience of it, because there's something about sitting around outside, in the summer, in a cool evening, with friends, and doing this sort of experience of making mountain pies. Kind of like s'mores or roasting hot dogs over the fire. This is in that same family where it's not just the taste of the food, but it's really more about the experience. This video has made me hungry officially, so I'm gonna go take a break, grab a bite. I'm gonna give a quick thank you to Cal, who suggested the idea for this video. And if you have any ideas for videos that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments.